The alarms blared through the corridors of the Odyssey Dawn, their shrill wails cutting through the shouts of panicked crew members. Red emergency lights pulsed, casting long, frantic shadows against the metal walls. The ship was dying, systems failing, engines sputtering in. The alien fleet outside showed no mercy. Daniel Carter clutched his daughter Sophie's hand as they ran, his grip tight, his heart pounding. She was only 6, her small legs struggling to keep up, but he couldn't carry her, not yet, not until they reached the escape pods. "Dad, I'm scared," Sophie whimpered, her voice trembling. "I know, sweetheart. Just hold on. We're almost there." Around them, people shoved past, desperate to reach the last remaining pods. The Odyssey Dawn had been a colony ship, carrying thousands to a new world. Now it was a tomb. Daniel turned a corner and skidded to a stop. The hallway leading to the escape pods was jammed. Too many people, too few ships. Security officer stood at the entrance, his face grim. "Only one pod left," he shouted. "Women and children first." Daniel's stomach twisted. Wasn't leaving without Sophie, but if they enforced the rule, he'd have to let her go alone. Couldn't do that. Not after losing her mother 2 years ago. Then the ship shook violently, throwing people off their feet. A deep groan echoed through the whole structural failure. They were out of time. "Sophie, listen to me," Daniel said, kneeling in front of her. "When I say go, you run to that pod as fast as you can. Don't stop for anything, okay?" Her big brown eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. Daniel stood, muscles tense. The crowd surged forward as the security officer opened the pod door. He waited just a second longer, then lifted Sophie into his arms and sprinted. "Go." He dodged past stumbling figures, ignoring the shouts behind him. The pod was right there, its hatch open, the last hope of survival. Then he saw her. A tall, slender figure stood in the pod's doorway, silhouetted by the dim interior lights. She wasn't human. Her skin had a faint blue tint, her long silver hair cascading over intricate robes that shimmered like liquid metal, her eyes piercing, golden locked onto his, an alien. And not just any alien. Daniel had seen hollows of her before. Empress Vera of the Zerothi Dominion, one of the most powerful rulers in the galaxy. What was she doing here? For a heartbeat, neither moved. Then, the ship shuddered again, a deafening explosion rocking the corridor. The ceiling above them groaned, metal buckling. Daniel tightened his hold on Sophie. The Empress tilted her head, studying them. Then, without a word, she stepped aside, gesturing for them to enter. Daniel didn't hesitate. He leaped into the pod, Sophie clinging to him. Just as the hallway behind them collapsed in a shower of sparks and twisted metal, the hatch sealed shut. The pod launched, hurling them into space. Through the small viewport, Daniel watched as the Odyssey Dawn erupted in a silent fireball, its debris scattering like dying embers. Silence filled the pod. Sophie sniffled, burying her face in Daniel's shoulder. He rubbed her back, his own hands shaking. Then he felt the weight of the Empress's gaze. She stood perfectly still, her expression unreadable. Daniel met her eyes, unsure if he should thank her or fear her. "Why?" he finally asked, voice rough. Vera glanced at Sophie, then back at him. "Because," she said simply, "you fought for her." And with that, she turned away, leaving Daniel to wonder just what kind of fate they had escaped in, what kind they had just boarded. The escape pod drifted in the silent void of space, its small engines barely keeping it stable. The only sounds were the faint hum of life support and Sophie's quiet breathing as she slept curled up in one of the cramped seats. Daniel sat across from Empress Vera, watching her carefully. She hadn't spoken since they escaped. Her golden eyes remained fixed on the stars outside the viewport, her expression unreadable. Daniel didn't trust her. How? She was royalty, an alien ruler, and he was just a mechanic with a kid. People like her didn't save people like him without a reason, but right now, they were stuck together. He cleared his throat. "We need to figure out where we're going." Vera didn't look at him. "There is a trading outpost 3 cycles from here. Neutral territory." Daniel checked the pod's navigation system. Computer confirmed at a small station called Terrace Junction was within reach. But their oxygen would run low before they got there. "We don't have enough air," he said. Vera finally turned to him. "Then you will adjust the scrubbers." Daniel frowned. You expect me to modify life support in a drifting pod? You are human. You modify things. He almost laughed. She said it like it was the simplest fact in the universe, and maybe it was. Humans did tinker with everything. With a sigh, he got to work. Sophie stirred as he moved past her. "Daddy, go back to sleep, sweetheart," he murmured, brushing her hair from her face. But she sat up, rubbing her eyes, and then froze when she saw Vera. The Empress stared back, her alien features impossible to read. "You're shiny?" Sophie said. Vera blinked. Daniel tensed, ready to pull Sophie away if the Empress reacted badly. But instead, Vera tilted her head. "My markings are bioluminescent. They react to emotion." Sophie's eyes widened. "You make them change colors?" A pause. Then, slowly, the faint glow along Vera's arms shifted from pale blue to a soft violet. Sophie gasped. "That's so cool." Daniel let out a slow breath. Maybe the Empress wasn't as cold as she seemed. He turned back to the life support panel, focusing on rerouting power to stretch their oxygen. As he worked, he listened to Sophie's endless questions what Zorathi food tasted like. If Vera had a palace, why she wasn't wearing a crown. To his surprise, Vera answered each one, her voice calm, her patience unending. Hours passed. The pod hummed along, stable for now. Daniel leaned back, wiping sweat from his brow. "You fixed it," Vera observed. "For now," he said, "but we're still cutting it close." She nodded, then glanced at Sophie, who had finally fallen asleep again. "Your child is unusual." Daniel frowned. "How?" "She does not fear me." He studied Vera's face. The first time he saw something there, not regal distance, but something almost like loneliness. "Kids don't care about titles," he said quietly. "They just see people." Vera was silent for a long moment. "Then you were fortunate." Before Daniel could respond, an alert flashed on the console. A ship was approaching. He lunged for the controls, heart racing. "We've got company." Vera moved beside him, her posture tense. The scanner showed a mid-sized vessel, not military, but not friendly-looking either. "Smugglers," Vera said, "or scavengers." Daniel's grip tightened on the console. If they were boarded, they had no weapons, no way to fight. Then the cum crackled to life. A rough voice filled the pod, unidentified pod. "This is the Black Star. Prepare to be boarded." Daniel looked at Vera. Options, her golden eyes gleamed. "We let them take us." "What?" "It is the fastest way to the outpost." He wanted to argue, but the ship was already locking onto them with a tractor beam. They had no choice. As the Black Star pulled them in, Daniel scooped up Sophie, holding her close. Vera straightened, her regal mask slipping back into place. "Stay behind me," she said, "and let me speak." Daniel nodded. The pod's hatch hissed open. Armed figures waited outside, weapons raised. The Empress stepped forward, her voice ringing with authority. "Take us to your captain." For the first time since the Odyssey Dawn died, Daniel allowed himself a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they'd survive this after all. The inside of the Black Star smelled like oil and stale air. Daniel kept Sophie close, as armed crew members led them through narrow corridors, their weapons never lowering. Vera walked ahead, her back straight, her alien markings glowing faintly in the dim light. They reached a large room cluttered with stolen goods and mismatched furniture. A broad-shouldered man with a scar across his cheek sat behind a dented metal desk. The captain looked them over with sharp eyes. "Well now," he said, a human, a kid, and a Zorathi noble. Odd group to find in an escape pod." Vera didn't flinch.
"You will take us to Terrace Junction."
The captain laughed. "I don't take orders from stranded passengers." Daniel felt Sophie's fingers tighten around his. He had to say something before this turned worse. "We can pay." That got the captain's attention. "With what?" "You got nothing but the clothes on your backs." Vera reached into the folds of her robe and pulled out a small crystal pendant.
Ow.
It pulsed with soft blue light. The captain's eyes locked onto it. "A royal sigil," he muttered. "That's Zorathi tech. Worth a fortune." Daniel held his breath. If they took the pendant and left them stranded, they'd be worse off than before. But Vera wasn't done. "Take us to the outpost, and it's yours." Try to steal it, and you will regret it. Her voice was calm, but something in it made the crew shift uneasily. The captain hesitated, then grinned. Fine. We'll play nice for now. They were given a cramped storage room to stay in. The moment the door closed, Daniel turned to Vera. That pendant wasn't that important? Extremely, she said, but survival comes first. Sophie, sitting on a crate, looked up at Vera. Are we safe now? Vera's markings flickered. No, but we are closer. Daniel sat beside Sophie, rubbing his temples. He didn't like this. The smugglers weren't trustworthy, and Vera was hiding something. Hours passed. The ship hummed around them. Then, without warning, the door slid open. A wiry crew member stood there, his eyes darting between them. Captain wants the Zorathy, he said. Daniel stood. Why? None of your business, human. Vera rose smoothly. I will go. Daniel grabbed her arm. Bad idea. She met his eyes. Stay with Sophie. Then, she was gone, the door sealing behind her. Sophie tugged Daniel's sleeve. Daddy, what's happening? I don't know, he admitted. But he wasn't going to wait to find out. He searched the room until he found a loose panel in the wall. Behind it, cramped maintenance tunnels snaked through the ship. Perfect for hiding or sneaking. Sophie, listen carefully. We're going to play a quiet game, okay? No talking until I say so. She nodded, her face serious. They crawled through the tunnels, Daniel leading the way. The sounds of the ship guided him, voices, footsteps, machinery. Then he heard Vera. Think I don't know who you are, the captain was saying. Empress Vera, wanted by half the galaxy. The reward for you is 10 times what that pendant's worth. Daniel's blood turned cold. Vera's voice was icy. You will find that money useless if you were dead. A thud, a gasp. Daniel peered through a vent just in time to see Vera disarm a guard with terrifying speed. The captain stumbled back, shouting for more crew. Now or never. Daniel kicked open the vent cover and dropped into the room, Sophie right behind him. The captain whirled, eyes wide. But the Vera didn't hesitate. She snatched a weapon from the floor and fired. The shot hit the captain's leg, screamed, collapsing. Run, Vera ordered. They bolted through the ship, alarms blaring. Crew members lunged at them, but Vera moved like a storm, striking down anyone in their path. Daniel kept Sophie shielded, his heart pounding. They reached the docking bay. A small shuttle sat ready, probably the captain's personal craft. Vera hacked the controls, and the hatch opened. They scrambled inside just as armed crew burst into the bay. The shuttle's engines roared to life. As they launched away, Daniel finally breathed. Sophie, wide-eyed, looked at Vera. You're really strong. Vera's markings pulsed once, then dimmed. I had to be. Daniel studied her. You could have left us behind. She met his gaze. No, I couldn't. For the first time, he believed her. The shuttle hurtled toward Terrace Junction. The Zorathy warship's docking bay was cold and smelled of metal. Daniel held Sophie's hand tightly as armored soldiers marched them forward. Vera walked ahead, her back straight, not looking at them. Odd, Sophie whispered, her voice shaking. Why is she pretending not to know us? Daniel squeezed her hand. Just play along, sweetheart. They were brought before a tall Zorathy officer with dark green markings. His eyes locked onto Vera. Empress, the traitor said you were dead. Vera's voice was ice. Clearly they were wrong. The officer turned to Daniel and Sophie. And these stowaways from the human ship, Vera said dismissively. I thought High Chancellor Draylock might find them. ... Amusing. The officer nodded and gestured to his soldiers. Take them to holding cells. The Chancellor will decide their fate. As they were led away, Daniel caught Vera's eye for just a second. Or something there, silent message. He remembered the device she'd given him. The cell was small and dark. Sophie sat on the floor, hugging her knees. I don't like this place, she whispered. Daniel sat beside her. Me neither. But we're going to be okay. He hoped it wasn't a lie. Hours passed. Then the door hissed open. A new group of soldiers entered, these ones wearing different armor. Come, their leader said. The Chancellor wants to see you. They were taken through twisting corridors to a large chamber. At the far end sat High Chancellor Dralik, his silver robes shimmering, his face twisted in a smug smile. "Ah," he said, "the lost Empress's pets." Daniel kept his mouth shut. He felt the weight of the device in his pocket. Greylock stood and circled them. "Tell me, humans, what did Vera promise you? Protection?"
Ow.
"Wealth." Sophie surprised them all by speaking up. "She's nice to us, unlike you." Dralok's smile vanished. He leaned down. "Little creature." U-alarms suddenly blared through the ship. Red lights flashed. "What is this?" Dralok snapped. A soldier rushed in. "Chancellor, the human prisoner has escaped." Daniel didn't hesitate. He pulled out the device and pressed it. A blinding holographic explosion filled the room, complete with smoke and noise. In the chaos, Daniel grabbed Sophie and ran. They made it 3 corridors before more soldiers appeared. Daniel pushed Sophie behind him, ready to fight, when suddenly the soldiers collapsed. Standing behind them was Vera, holding a stolen weapon. "No time," she said. "This way." They ran through service tunnels, Vera leading with perfect knowledge of the ship's layout. "Why are you helping us?" Daniel gasped as they ran. Vera didn't slow down. "Because Dralok took everything from me, including my honor." They reached a small hangar with a single fighter ship. Vera began prepping it for launch. Sophie tugged at Vera's robe. "Are you coming with us?" For the first time, Vera's expression softened. "No, little one, I have to stay." Daniel stared at her. "You'll die." Vera activated the ship's controls. "Perhaps, but my people need me." Alarms grew louder. They were out of time. Vera pushed them toward the ship. "Go. There are coordinates programmed in a safe planet." Daniel hesitated. Then he did something surprising. He held out his hand. Vera looked at it, then clasped his forearm in the human way. "Thank you," Daniel said. Vera nodded. Then to Sophie. "Keep your father safe." As they boarded the ship and the hatch closed, Daniel saw Vera turn to face the approaching soldiers, her markings glowing bright red. The last thing he heard before the engines roared to life was Vera shouting in her native tongue a battle cry. Then they were in space, the warship growing smaller behind them. Sophie pressed her face to the window. "Will she be okay?" Daniel set the course and took a deep breath. "I don't know, kiddo, but she gave us a chance. That's what matters." As the stars stretched into light speed, neither of them noticed the small tracking beacon quietly blinking beneath the control panel. The planet was green and quiet. Daniel set the stolen fighter down in a grassy field, the engines sputtering as they shut off. For the first time in days, there was silence. Sophie pressed her nose against the cockpit glass. "Are we safe here?" Daniel checked the scanner. "No ships in orbit, no signals nearby." "For now," he said. They stepped out into warm sunlight. The air smelled sweet, like earth after rain. Daniel took a deep breath, letting the tension ease from his shoulders. They were alive. That was enough. 8. A rustling in the trees made him tense. Pushed Sophie behind him as figures emerged, made simple farmers in rough clothing. The leader, a gray-haired woman, raised her hands. "You're from the sky," she said. Daniel nodded cautiously. "We need help." The woman studied them, then smiled. "Come, we have food." That night, sitting by a fire in the small village, Daniel finally let himself relax. The villagers asked no questions, simply sharing their meal without hesitation. Sophie fell asleep against his side, exhausted. As the fire crackled, Daniel noticed something in the sky, a streak of light, too fast to be a shooting star. A ship entering atmosphere. His body went rigid, but no attack came.
Ow.
The ship disappeared beyond the mountains. Daniel stayed awake all night, watching just in case. Morning came bright and clear. Daniel was helping repair a fence when he heard Sophie shout. He turned, heart pounding, and froze. Vera stood at the edge of the village. She looked different. Her robes were torn, her markings dim, but she was alive. Sophie ran to her before Daniel could react. Vera knelt stiffly as the girl crashed into her. Daniel approached slowly. "How did you find us?" Vera touched the collar of her robe. "Tracker, standard royal protocol, of course." Daniel should have known. "And Dralik?" "Dead," she said it simply, like stating the weather. "The Dominion is mine again." Daniel studied her face. She looked tired. "So why are you here?" Vera looked past him at the village. at Sophie playing with local children. I owed you the truth. She reached into her robe and produced a small device. The tracker also recorded our conversations. Everything said on that warship. Daniel's stomach dropped. He remembered what he'd told Sophie, that Vera had given them a chance, that she'd sacrificed herself. Vera's golden eyes held his. No one has ever called me. Nice. The words sounded strange in her mouth. Daniel didn't know what to say. Vera continued. My ship is waiting. I can take you to any human colony you choose. Sophie came running back then, her hands full of wildflowers. She thrust them at Vera. For you. Vera took them carefully, as if they might break. Thank you. Daniel watched them, something shifting inside him. What if we don't want to go to a human colony? Vera raised an eyebrow. He gestured to the village. People took us in without question. Maybe we could do the same. Sophie gasped. Can we stay with Vera? The Empress looked startled. Then, slowly, her markings began to glow soft pink, like sunrise. If that is your wish, she said carefully. Daniel smiled. He looked at his daughter, at this strange alien ruler holding wildflowers, and made his choice. Let's go home, he said. For the first time since his wife died, he meant it.